Hi, so I'm Mark Brian Canlapan and I am now interviewing Flordelynn Castillo. So Lynn, can you tell me something about yourself?
Hi, my name is Flordelynn Castillo. I'm 21 years old. I went to the United States when I was 8, and ever since then, I've been here.
So you migrated here when you're 8 years old, right?
Yes.
Did you went back to the Philippines after that?
I did. At around 12 or 13, my mother decided that she wanted me to mature in the Philippines. So she basically practically deported me back to spend more time with my dad and to finish high school there. I also finished 3 years worth of college in St. Paul University, Manila.
So before you went here, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word America?
Land of the free. It's the first thing I hear or I think about.
So
Land of the free.
do you have any dreams and ambition in life before you went here?
Ever since I was younger, I always wanted to become famous. But then I realized that that's not going to happen. So I wanted to do the next best thing, and that's to become a high school teacher, because I figured I can affect a lot of people's lives that way. I can inspire young kids and be able to teach them things that my parents weren't able to teach me.
Okay, so do you think it will be easier for you to achieve those dreams and ambition here in America or in the Philippines?
I believe that it's easier for me to what was the word? Achieve? Okay. I believe that it is easier for me to achieve those goals and aspirations here in the United States only because there's a lot of opportunities here. For teachers especially, there are grants and scholarships, and especially in the state of California, there are a lot of opportunities for teachers. And I myself am someone who wants to teach in at-risk areas, and so I would like to go back to the Philippines and start a foundation or something like that, but as of right now, my goal is to stay here and to live that dream here in America.
So, when you first came here in America, do you experience like some problems or some problems in the culture and stuff?
Well, first of all, first of all, it's climate shock because it's really cold here. In the Philippines, it's scorching hot. Number two, it's culture shock because before in the Philippines, my mom and dad wouldn't even kiss in front of me. But here, it's like, 13, 12-year-old kids would kiss each other in the bus stop. That would be totally fine. Another thing about culture is that here, when you're 18, you can be emancipated. As opposed to the Philippines, even when you're married, you still live with your parents. So it's a little different in terms of that. At the same time, here in the States, people are very independent compared to the Philippines, where Filipinos in general tend to be very family-oriented, or they tend to stick to their own kind. Unlike here, when you get tired of one place, you can move to another place. In terms of problems, a third problem that I had was that when I first came here, I wasn't able to speak English well. Mainly because, I didn't really grow up with English as my first language. I grew up with Tagalog. But when I moved here, children my age would make fun of me because I wasn't able to speak English very well. I had a really bad Filipino accent, or a really heavy Filipino accent that I couldn't get rid of. But as time progressed, my mom did tell me one time that I started sleep talking in English, and when she heard that, she was just like, "Yep, that's my daughter."
In that new culture, like what did you do to assimilate or to fit in to that culture shock?
Well, first of all, when you're young, it's easy to adapt and to act like a sponge and soak everything in. But if you're moving from a totally different country with a totally different culture, it's very hard. But I was able to get a lot of support from my relatives who were there for me, and as well as my friends that I made in school, and they were able to appreciate my existence, and they were able to help me outgrow my immaturity, and they were able to help me cope with the culture shock and all that. And now I can say that I'm even more American than, you know, your typical white person.
Yeah. So, do you still have like friends or family in the Philippines that you missed? And what are the things that you can do in the Philippines that you can't do in here?
Okay, first part of that question, yes, I still have family and friends in the Philippines. As I have mentioned, I did go back to finish high school and a little bit of college there. So I have made quite a handful of friends. In terms of family, everyone is basically there, except for my mother and actually, no, I have about half my family there. My dad's side especially, they're all there. Things that I could do there that I can't do here.
That's the second question.
Okay, so the things that I could do there that I can't do here is...
and vice versa.
in the Philippines, I don't have to do my own laundry. I don't have to cook for myself. I don't have to clean the house. I don't have to do any chores at all because in the Philippines, it's a typical manner to have a maid in the house. In my Lola's house, my grandma's house, she had 4, and I had 1 especially for me. But when I left, she was still there. But anyway, that's one thing that I have there that I don't have here. Because here I have to do things by myself. I have to do the laundry. I pay my own rent. I clean my own room, wash my own dishes, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Can do here that I can't do there is to be independent. Obviously, in the Philippines, I was very codependent with my family, with my friends. Here, I love the idea of having my own room, my own space. I like the idea of not being able to, call every 1 hour if I'm out at night. Like, I can do whatever I want here, and in the Philippines it's very different. Another thing that I can do here that I can't do there is to support myself. Obviously in the Philippines, there's a negative connotation that if you don't graduate college, you won't get very far in life. And here, I'm still going to college, but I'm able to work and pay rent at the same time. So I think that it works out better here than it does in the Philippines. So yeah.
So do you think like when you move here, do you really like to move here, or is it an obligation for you since your other family members were here?
So when I was younger, it was an obligation for me to come here because my mother and father decided to get a divorce, and my mom talked to me about it, and she said that I'm going to go with her here. And at first, I was okay with it because, let's face it, who wouldn't want to go to America? But, when I went here, it was pretty much hell the first month or so because, of all the things that I said previously. In terms of now that I'm older, I could very well just stay in the Philippines if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I wouldn't want to put myself in such a situation where I'm prohibited to do certain things that I can do freely here. So I like it here better.
Do you think being materialistic also plays a big role for you to stay in here, or
What?
being materialistic, does it play a big role for you to stay in here, or?
I think in general, people. That's a heavy loaded question. People in general, you can't ask them if they're materialistic or not because it's too negative, so don't say that. But I think here in America, I'm able to appreciate the beauty of certain things, and certain things just happen to be really expensive. In the Philippines, since I was codependent, I wasn't able to spend my own money. I wasn't able to, to go to work, earn my money, and buy expensive things. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself materialistic, although I do like certain things that I wouldn't be able to get without money. So,
Yeah. So now that you were here, do you still feel obligated to help those people's like your relatives in the Philippines?
No, I do not feel obligated to help them because if I can stand on my own here, they can stand on their own by themselves. First of all, they're older than me, so why would I need to support them? Number two, they're not helping me. I'm supporting myself, so I don't necessarily think that that's fair, necessarily. I think that's a very American mentality. I know that, if my mom needed help, or if my auntie needed help, I would, help them if they asked for it. But if they didn't, there's no point in me helping them just because I feel like helping them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between asking for help and giving help. And there's also a difference with that and, you giving something, not necessarily help. If it's about money or anything like that, then that's a different story.
Yeah. So even if you don't feel obligated in on helping your relatives there, do you still like have this idea that you need to know what's going on in the Philippines, or you don't really care about the Philippines anymore?
What do you mean, like relatives?
Like relatives, family, and like those disasters that happened, like
Well,
the Yolanda
first of
thing.
all, I obviously still care very much about my countrymen and my relatives and all that and my friends, but I don't necessarily think that I have a say in what's going on in the Philippines in terms of like calamities or political injustices or anything like that, because I am not a resident of that country. I do believe that I will get affected by it somehow if my family gets affected by it directly, because then that indirectly affects me. But if it's something like, the typhoon that just happened a couple of weeks ago, Typhoon Haiyan, of course it's gonna make such a big impact in my life because thousands and thousands of people lost their lives. As a matter of fact, I donated my old clothes and a couple $100 to people who went through that, and I needed to make sure that those people who needed help will get some form of help, and even if it's not a lot from me, at least I'm able to help.
Yeah, that's it. So thank you for letting me interview you. Any message for the people who will view this video?
As a Filipino immigrant, I would like to say that I am still very much proud of my heritage. Even though it seems like I'm turning my back on them, I'm not. Once a Filipino, always a Filipino, and even here in the United States, we tend to stick together. And in such difficult times like now, especially in the Philippines, it's very important that we remember that our roots came from somewhere, and our roots are in the Philippines, and we're just a bunch of people here in America in this big melting pot trying to blend in together. But what we must remember all the time is that first and foremost, we are of one kind.
So what you're basically saying is that you are proud of being Filipino, but you just think that there is more opportunity here in America than in the Philippines. That's why you're here right now, right?
The reason why I'm here is because I want to be here. It's because America is what I call my home. And even though I was born and raised in the Philippines, that's still home for me, but I've made a name for myself here. I've made a living here. I have a career here. I go to school here. I want to start and raise a family here. There's no reason for me to come back to the Philippines. And if that's such a negative thing to say, then maybe it is negative if I want to be here.
Yeah, so thanks again.
You're welcome.